Belderone,
Yes.
David Higgins,
Yes.
Steve Julesgaard,
Here.
Dave Martin. Dave, let me look for Dave. I know he's here. Dave, you are unmuted, but we cannot hear you or see you. So I'm going to go on with roll call and come back. Lauren Miller Rogan,
Here.
Adriana Padilla, Joe Panetta,
Yes.
Francisco Prieto,
Here.
Robert Quint,
Present.
Al Rolette,
Here.
Jeff Sheehy,
Here.
Oz Stewart,
Here.
Jonathan Thomas,
Here.
Art Torres,
Here.
Diane Winokur,
Here.
and David Martin. Okay, so Dave? Nope, can't hear, can't see. Okay, we will go on.
Okay, thank you, Maria. We're going to move right to the action items. As has been the case with all of these COVID round meetings, the first action item is consideration of the existence of emergency situation. The emergency situation means any of the following as determined by a majority of the members of the ICOC. A, work stoppage or other activity that severely impacts public health or safety or both. Or B, crippling disaster that severely impairs public health or safety or both. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. This is Oz.
Isabel seconds.
Moved by Dr. Stewart, seconded by Mr. Ron. Is there any discussion on this item? Any comments from members of the public? Hearing none, Maria, will you please call the roll?
Henry Dulege. Henry, you're on mute. Sorry about that.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Isabel Duron,
Yes.
David Higgins,
Yes.
Steve Julesgaard,
Yes.
Dave Martin. We can't hear you, but I see your thumb. Thank you. Lauren Miller Rogan,
Yes.
Adriana Padilla, Joe Panetta,
Yes.
Francisco Prieto. Francisco.
Sorry, aye.
Oh, yes, thank you. Robert Quint,
Yes.
Al Rolette,
Yes.
Jeff Sheehy,
Yes.
Oz Stewart,
Yes.
Jonathan Thomas,
Yes.
Art Torres,
Aye.
Diane Winokur.
I'm here.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. We're going to proceed now to the proceedings of the Application Review Subcommittee, which are going to be led today and going forward by Dr. Stewart. As it happens, Dr. Stewart is conflicted out of the first item, so I'm going to run this particular item and turn the balance over to him. That item.
What happened to Mr. Sheehy? He's not running these things anymore?
Mr. Sheehy is not going to be running the Application Review Subcommittee.
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
So any other comments, members of the board? Okay, let's move to item 4, consideration of supplemental funding for existing Flynn COVID award grants and specifically looking at CLIN 2 COVID 11775. Dr. Creasy is going to be leading the discussion on this item. Dr. Creasy, would you please take it from here?
Thank you, Chairman Thomas. Dear CERM board members, I'm here before you to present a supplemental funding for active COVID-19 clinical trial award. This is a supplement to an active award that was awarded to Dr. John Zayev at the City of Hope, again for a collection of convalescent plasma and then utilizing that convalescent plasma to treat patients. So just to remind you all that convalescent plasma is you have approved it as a vital research opportunity. And so the next couple of slides are really just gonna be reminders for what you have guided us to do. So convalescent plasma is a vital research opportunity per Proposition 71. Next slide, please. And that the board is allowing supplemental funding for active COVID-19 clinical trial awards to expand this effort. Dr. Zaya was kind enough to put together a letter that was uploaded for your consideration last night. I hope you had the chance to review it. Next slide, please. Just to remind you again what supplemental funding for clinical trial projects means is, again, the supplements cannot exceed 250,000, and those funds are to be brought, or funding requests for the supplements are to come before the governing board's application review subcommittee. The CIRM team was provided with a detailed proposal by Dr. Zaya, and we reviewed it, and we highly recommend for the board to consider funding this supplement. Next
Thank you,
slide,
Dr.
please.
Creasy.
No, I'm not through yet. So
Thought you were
I just wanted to accentuate that both the active award as well as the supplement are really outreaching to the underserved populations. And the last slide is just explaining that the need for the supplement really is for collecting plasma and treating due to the recent surge in the underserved communities in Southern California. And I'm sure you're well aware of that through the news. So I'm through now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you very much, Dr. Creasy. Do we have a motion to approve the $250,000 supplemental award for Dr. Zaya's project?
So, or I second.
Okay, I got the second. Who was the first?
Dr. Higgins was.
David Higgins, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is there discussion by members of the board? Yes, David.
I have just a quick question, really a scientific question. There's been a lot of the convalescent work in the media the last couple of days. How does this relate to that? Is it the same as? Is it different than? Is it more of whatever?
Dr. Zaya is on the phone, and he might want to answer that, but I can start by saying it's, again, very similar. Dr. Zaya's work is connected with the Mayo Clinic and the national effort regarding convalescent plasma. And what's been great is that we're also connected to Johns Hopkins. So the whole effort is towards identifying, per the FDA guidelines, convalescent plasma with specific titers that would allow then for administering them to patients with unmet medical need who have convalescent plasma.
Gotcha, thank you.
Isabel.
I'm sorry.
No.
I was just wondering if Dr. Zaya's on the phone.
I don't see him on the call, Abla.
Oh, okay.
I think Isabel had a question.
No, I actually had a comment.
Oh, great.
I'm thrilled to see the letter that came through, and particularly excited, one, that you have taken this to heart, that you're going to be looking working very judiciously with these different clinics and throughout Southern California, which has been extraordinarily heavily hit in the communities, racial and ethnic communities. And I'm also glad to see an inclusion of work with Native American. That is really exciting to see. So thank you very much for taking this to heart. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your continued support, and thank you also for the University of California, Irvine, for helping Dr. Zaya and at least accomplishing this goal.
Yay, Irvine.
Any other discussion by members of the board? Any comments by members of the public?
I think David Higgins, JT, had his
Yeah, he was
hand
on
up.
mute.
Yeah, I was on mute. Sorry. I just wanted to reiterate my thanks to Dr. Daron and her leadership, which without going into too much detail, I think I'm guilty of the I don't think I'm a racist, but if I don't do something about it, I am kind of thing. And I think she's led the way for me on that front, and I really appreciate that.
And I thank you, David, for the honorary degree.
You're easy to come by.
I am heartfelt journalist. That's what I am.
I'll have to work on that honorary degree from UC.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments by members of the board? Hearing none and having heard no comments from members of the public, Maria, will you please call the roll?
Anne-Marie Dulege,
Yes.
Isabel Duran,
Yes.
David Higgins,
Yes.
Steve Julesgaard,
Yes.
Dave Martin. Yes, I saw the yes and the thumb up. Okay, thank you. Lauren Miller-Rogan,
Yes.
Adriana Padilla, Joe Panetta,
Yes.
Francisco Prieto,
Okay.
Robert Quint,
Yes.
Al Rolette,
Yes.
Jeff Sheehy,
Yes.
Jonathan Thomas,
Yes.
Art Torres,
Aye.
Diane Winokur.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, that move on. Is Oz back on at this point?
He's on. Yes.
Okay, Oz, we're on to item number 5, please, if you could take it from here.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Thomas. And I'll try very hard to follow in Jeff's excellent footsteps over the year in chairing these sessions. So under consideration today are the applications that were reviewed by the Grants Working Group a couple of weeks ago, I guess. Would it be possible to put up the list so that we can view this?
Oz Gill has a presentation to go through.
Okay.
If that's okay.
And will it end with the list of applications and the summaries?
Yes.
Terrific.
Uh-huh.
Then thank you, Gil. You're on.
Okay, thank you, Oz. Doug, if you could put up the presentation, I'll quickly go through that. Good afternoon, everyone. So once again, we're looking at the COVID-19 program submissions for this 6th cycle now of the program. We have, as you know, a spectrum of application types that come through. For this particular review, we had a couple of DISC 1 applications, one CLIN 1 application, and several DISC 2 applications. And on the next slide, you can see the table that shows the respective award amounts and award durations for these different types of awards. And the 2 that are recommended, one of them is a DISC 1, the other one is a DISC 2. And so you can go on to the next slide, Doug, thank you. So one of the things that we continue to do that we implemented in the last couple of cycles is ensuring that applicants are addressing the needs of the underserved. And so we have done that in a couple of ways. One is that in the CLIN 2 projects, we require that all clinical trial proposals include a plan for outreach and inclusion of minority and underserved populations in their studies. And then with all other applications, we want to know from the applicants how it is that their overall study plan and design has considered specifically the disproportional impact of COVID-19 on those populations. And so these are elements that are looked at and considered by the review panel. And so you will see sometimes comments related to this. And so it has become a component of the review. We are doing this still as a pilot with us still trying to figure out how best to implement this, but I think overall it's been a great addition. All right, so then in terms of the specific recommendations, We had 8 applications that were reviewed. 2 are recommended. As mentioned, one is a DISC 1, the other one's a DISC 2. The funds available, given the last item we had, is now reduced to $672,000. The total applicant request is just about $400,000 to cover those 2 applications. The next slide, please. And so these are the 2 proposals. The first one is a DISC 1 proposal that got a score of 90. That one is entitled Development of an Anti-COVID RNAi Therapeutics using human iPSC-derived alveolar epithelial cells. And so this project is one that would develop a method for introducing RNAi biologics as a potential therapy to treat or prevent COVID-19. And they're requesting $150,000. The second application that's recommended is a Discovery 2 application. So this is one that would be seeking to identify a therapeutic candidate. And this also scored a 90. And what this is a screen of some FDA approved drugs using a stem cell based lung organoid model. And so this is one that would allow them to assess the activity of 2 drug candidates and their capability of promoting or preventing infectivity in lung organoid cells and looking at other various parameters in those lung organoids for those effects. And if successful, they could take one or both of these candidates forward, depending on those findings. And so the applicant is requesting $249,999, so just about $250,000. So those are the 2 applications that are recommended. And Doug, you can put up the spreadsheet that has all the other applications on it for everyone to see. And that concludes my presentation. Dr. Stewart.
Bless you.
Thank you, Gil. So following our usual order of go in our consideration here, the first item is whether anyone on the board has an application that they would like to recommend for moving from tier 2 to tier 1.
Can you get the spreadsheet up when you have a minute?
It's coming along.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I am not seeing any hands. Are you, Maria?
Let's see. Nope. I do not see any.
Okay, going once, going twice. Does anyone have applications that they would like to move from tier 1 to tier 2? And again, I'm not seeing any hands.
Nope.
Okay, excellent. Can we have a motion, and let's start with the ones that we don't want to fund, not to fund applications in tier 2?
So moved.
I think that was Francisco.
Yes.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
David?
Yep.
Thank you.
Discussion by the board?
Dr. Stewart, this is Isabel. May I say something?
Yes, please, Isabel. Thank you.
Thank you. I was reading one of the applications that scored in the 50s and 60s. And I appreciated this from one of the reviewers, which tells me they are starting to pay closer attention to the applications. They said their statement of inclusion didn't really address anything other than to say they would include minorities. To me, that is exactly the issue, that applicants are not being, their feet are not being held to the fire about taking this issue seriously about proportional inclusion in their applications. And I think that the more we can send that message back, either as review notes or as comments, I don't know how, and if the people whose applications don't make it get reviews back, but I would like them to know that this is important and that they can't any longer continue to slide by without making sure that they've done everything possible to be sure that they're looking at the inclusion of racial and ethnic minorities in their research. We cannot move science forward if we do not have a proportional number of these populations engaged in research. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for, again, raising that very important issue and bringing it to our attention. I will say that the reviewers in the grants working group are paying careful attention to that, and where appropriate, those are being included in the review notes, which we, the board, receives, and their public summaries. In addition, the comments of this sort are going into the full reviews that that each applicant receives. So the message is getting out there, hopefully quickly, but maybe not as quickly as it needs to. So thank you again. Other comments by the board? Seeing none. Are there public comments?
If there are members of the public that would like to speak, if you could press *9, that will give you access. I don't see any, Oz.
Okay. Having no public comments, then could we go ahead and move to the vote?
Yes.
Maria.
Anne-Marie Dulege,
Yes.
Isabel Duron,
Yes.
David Higgins,
Yes.
Steve Julesgaard,
Yes.
Dave Martin. Dave, I have to find you. There you are. Thank you. Lauren Miller-Rogan,
Yes.
Joe Panetta,
Yes.
Francisco Prieto,
Aye.
Robert Quint,
Yes.
Al Rolette,
Yes.
Jeff Sheehy,
Yes.
Oz Stewart,
Yes.
Jonathan Thomas,
Yes.
Diane Winter.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay. Thank you, Maria. Next, we'll move to the two applications that are recommended for funding. Unless there are requests by members of the board to consider these separately, we might want to take them together. Is there a motion to that effect or an alternative motion?
So moved. So moved.
David, may I interpret that as a motion to take them together?
Yes. 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 I'm sorry. Yes. That's exactly what I meant. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Second?
Isabel,
Okay.
second.
Second, this is Al Rolette.
Oh, sorry, Al.
Thank you.
That's all right.
And Al?
Okay.
Discussion by the board?
Yes, actually, I have a question.
Yes.
Just a quick scientific question. Can we get a little bit of clarity on whether these two applications are related from a scientific standpoint? They seem related to me, but I'd love to have some clarification.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. Gil, can you speak to that?
Sure, absolutely. So they're not related if you mean coming from same team, investigator, or institution. They're
So more about the science itself. Yeah, I knew they were.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, yeah. So the DISC 1, what they are doing is they are developing a method. It's kind of a chemical synthesis approach to making siRNA able to go into cells, get released into the cytosol, and be effective against the virus. And so that's the main core and focus of that proposal. And so, presumably if that works, it really opens the door to using our RNAi generally in terms of being able to deliver it to the lung and using that as a therapeutic. Now, the other DISC-2 application is using a sophisticated iPSC-derived lung organoid model. So they've developed a complex model that includes a vasculature, it has an immune compartment, and represents many of the varied cells within the lung. And so they're using that as a screen for FDA-approved drugs that would have an impact on the infectivity of the lung cells or the lung organoids by SARS-CoV-2. And so they have two candidates that they are looking at that went through an initial screen. And so this would be a more sophisticated screen using the lung organoids that would allow them to collect enough data to take one of those two or maybe both as candidates into translation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions by board members? Seeing no hands.
No
Going
hands.
once. Are there any comments from members of the public?
Again, if you'd like to make a comment, please press *9. I don't see any.
Okay, thank you, Maria. So we'll go ahead and call the question. Maria?
Anne-Marie Dulege,
Yes.
Isabel Giron,
Yes.
David Higgins,
Yes.
Steve Julesgaard,
Yes.
Dave Martin. We see Dave. Okay, thank you, Dave. Lauren Miller-Rogan,
Yes.
Adriana Padilla, Joe Panetta,
Yes.
Francisco Prieto,
Aye.
Robert Quint,
Yes.
Al Rolette,
Yes.
Jeff Sheehy,
Yes.
Bob Stewart,
Yes.
Jonathan Thomas,
Yes.
Diane Winokur.
Yes.
The motion carries.
So thank you. And that concludes the business of the Application Review Subcommittee, I believe, and passing the gavel back to Chairman Thomas.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stewart. And I believe, Gil, correct me if I'm wrong, but those were COVID awards 15 and 16 that the board has made. Is that correct?
I think it might be 14 and 15, but I don't have the numbers in front of me, so you might be correct.
Okay. In any event, I believe we've had a discussion with the team, and we are entertaining one more round of COVID applications, which will be heard in peer review by the GWG on July 21st, with a board meeting subsequent to that to consider any projects recommended for funding that come out of that. Correct, Dr. Sombrano?
Correct. Yes, that's right.
Thank you, and continued thanks to you and your team for the expert handling of the application process for these and all other grants. We're now at the part of the agenda for public comment for any topic that anybody wants to speak about. Do we have any public comment at this time? Hearing none, that will conclude today's agenda. And thank you, everybody, for taking time on this Friday afternoon. Please continue to stay safe and healthy, and we will talk to you in 2 weeks. We stand adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. See you
Very
soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.